the CVA is toothless, and it's toothless because it doesn't do what it's claiming to do. So look at it like this. You know what a food technologist is. You know what a food technologist does. You know what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
The proposal of the CVA is just like, hey, take these cupping forms and you're kind of like there. If you use the descriptive form, you're doing descriptive analysis. If you use the effective form, you're running an effective test. Congratulations. You are now a food technologist. You are now a sensory scientist. So from that perspective, that's not true. It's not going to happen.
At all.
No, not at all. People might use those forms, but they're not going to like become those things by doing that. And I think here's why I think that's good.
Let's be honest, cheap, watered-down drinks aren't cutting it anymore. Raw Beverage Trading partners with venues that want to win. We develop bold, consistent, damn good products made with real ingredients because your customers can taste the difference. Matcha, we're on it. Cold brew, best in class. We're not here to chase pennies. We're here to build brands, loyalty, and bottom line profits. Stop letting cost controllers call the shots. Raw is where margin meets meaning. If you're looking for a partner, not just a supplier, contact sales@rawcoffee.ae or check the show notes for details. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 1 of a brand new 5-part series. We are talking to Ian Fretheim, the Director of Sensory Analysis for Cafe Imports. And before we get started, I want to give everybody a reference. We are recording this on the 11th of August, a few days after the Best of Panama results came through. And rest assured, we are going to discuss that in episode 3 of this series. So I just want you to know, most of you are all going to go straight to the 3rd episode. Don't do that. Listen to all of this series. We are specifically going to be addressing this in episode 3 because it's relevant there. Ian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lee. I'm so happy to be here.
The way that this came around was really fun. And folks, this is the first time we've ever done what we're about to do. So if you listen to the MiddleEast podcast, you will know Reza Kosar. Shout out to Reza, because at the end of this series, I said to Reza, who's someone you would want me to have on the podcast? And he said, Ian, immediately. He didn't skip a beat. He's like, Ian from Cafe Imports. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. So Ian and I have a conversation, and we thought we would have the exact same series as what we did with Reza, but on the global podcast. And what would be really interesting is the comparison between the series from somebody who lives in the Middle East and the series with someone who lives in the United States. And this is just something that is really fascinating, because what we're talking about is what is quality in the coffee industry. And I have been harping on this idea that the person who, the people, the thing, the organization, the structures that define quality are the ones who own the game. They own, and again, that references back to Best of Panama in a really kind of strange way. But we will talk about that later. In this episode, we're going to talk about the tools that are used to assess coffee quality. But before we get started, Ian, tell us what you do and where you're at and Cafe Imports and, all the good stuff that everyone wants to know.
Yeah, great. I'm Ian. I live in Minneapolis. I work for Cafe Imports. I've been here for 14 or 15 years with imports, always in the sensory department. So I came in as a spit bucket cleaner, doing some data entry, learned a cup, learned on the job, and progressed kind of up from there, grew with the company in a lot of ways. I get to try something out, and then if I had success, I'd get a little longer leash and try something out, a little longer leash, and now I'm here on the Map It Forward podcast. So that's a wonderful,
it's a pleasure to have you.
story. I got into this a bit non-traditionally. I think my background, I don't have a degree. I didn't go to college. I went to a Zen monastery and became a monk and a priest. I can still marry and bury people if the need.
If anyone's looking,
Yeah,
connect with Ian in the show notes.
Generally unadvertised services.
Fantastic.
But if I'm just putting it out there.
We're putting it out there. I don't know where you go from there, bro.
Well, I tell you what, that doesn't play super well in a lot of areas of the world, but it did play pretty well with getting into sensory and coffee because
I imagine.
I didn't demonstrate like, oh, I've checked these boxes, I've got this degree, I've got this thing. What I did demonstrate or was able to demonstrate was like, well, I know how to focus, I know how to observe, pay attention. I was very fortunate. Let me say, I was very fortunate that the hiring people at that time were willing to like look at what I was presenting as a skill set and say, yeah, we can give that a shot. This is a low risk hire. We could give that a try. And then from there, I was able to demonstrate and run.
Yeah, that's exciting. And for those who don't know Cafe Imports, can you tell people what Cafe Imports do?
Yeah, so we are a specialty coffee importer. We've been operating since 1993, I think. We are independently owned. We are a small, large importer or a large, small importer, depending on who you compare us to and how you want to count those numbers. We do have an office in Berlin and we have another office in Melbourne. Both sales offices, and then our primary office is here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Nice. So we are in this series, as I said, going to be talking about quality, hot topic in the industry at the moment. And the question we're asking in this episode is, what are the tools we use in coffee to assess quality? So as somebody whose full-time job it is to focus on quality, what kind of tools are you using? And what are you using those tools to assess?
Yep. So there's kind of like two boring ones, and we'll get those out of the way. Two boring categories. Cupping forms, right? Legacy SCA.
2004.
Cup of Excellence. We've got two former bespoke cupping forms. I think everyone mostly knows about that. We'll touch on different things, I think, probably over the course of this conversation. Cupping forms. That's a tool that we use to assess quality. Gadgets, moisture meters, water activity meters. We've got a thing called an OptiCount, which you spread a sample of coffee on a tray and it takes a picture from above and below. It looks at color, shape, and size. We use that to assess quality. We use that to compare pre-ships to arrivals, that kind of thing. Agtron, right? Another gadget. You could spend all the money in the world forever, and you'd still have more gadgets that you could buy, and you could justify them as assessing quality, physical green quality. We use grain grading mats, right? And then we become literal bean counters every once in a while. So I think that's the boring stuff. You don't need a podcast for that stuff, I don't think. Although we'll get into some cupping form stuff later. More fun.
Yeah.
The coffee rows. That's my little baby. That's my cupping form. I'm not going to turn this into an advertisement. But it has validity as we talk about the underlying questions of what is quality, how do we assess quality, who gets to make that determination, what's the relationship between stakeholders when we're talking about quality. I think all that is crucial to our understanding of specialty coffee in the industry and what it means to be specialty coffee, what it means to have an industry that we've kind of decided, not imports, but like we as an industry, we've decided we're the ones who have this industry predicated on quality. So why are we having a conversation about quality? Well, we're having a conversation about quality because we've built this entire industry predicated on this concept of we're the ones who look for quality. We do quality discovery. We pay quality premiums. We buy quality we use this term, not just use it all the time, but we use it to justify like a huge portion of what we do. And what I think I don't know if we're gonna find it because you might not agree with me, but we've never defined it. We've never defined it in a realistic or reasonable way. And so it's really important. And so we'll get back to that. The other big one, this is the big one that we use. The other tool that we use is people. And people don't like to be called tools. Some people are tools. Depending on the type of sensory that you do, you're going to use people as instruments or tools, or less so. But within that category of people use their senses. They use their opinions. They use social media trends. People will use just about anything that they have available to themselves as clues to try to get the right answer, right? So that's people. And in my view, people are really the core, or they're half of the core of specialty coffee. Coffee itself being the other part of that equation. I think that's a pretty simple equation. It's specialty coffee to me is specialty coffee, the physical coffee, plants and seeds, and then people.
Okay.
And that's kind of, it's simplified, but I think that's it. There's lots of people doing lots of different things. There's lots of different things to know about the plants, but if I were to boil it down, it's those two things. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind and to focus on those two things as much as possible.
Something that I have just realized is a correlation between how you and Reza both kind of approached this is as we talk about tools, there's an education element to this that is just imperative for the coffee professional or the sensory professional, right? And the thing that I have noticed, I did a genetics degree, and as a part of the genetics degree, there was a food technology. I took a couple of classes in food technology, and it wasn't until right now in this episode that I have started to realize why I'm so fucking bothered by what the SCA is doing. Is because I feel like they're trying to turn our industry into makeshift food technologists that haven't had to do the degree of a food technologist. Am I off the mark there?
No. So here's the good news. Here's the good for now. The good news for now is the CVA, right? This is and
we're going to talk at length about that in another episode.
We'll circle back on this point, but the CVA is toothless, and it's toothless because it doesn't do what it's claiming to do. So look at it like this. You know what a food technologist is. You know what a food technologist does. You know what it takes to get there.
Yeah.
The proposal of the CVA is just like, hey, take these cupping forms and you're kind of like there. If you use the descriptive form, you're doing descriptive analysis. If you use the affective form, you're running an affective test. Congratulations. You are now a food technologist. You are now a sensory scientist. So from that perspective, that's not true. It's not going to happen.
At all.
No, not at all. People might use those forms, but they're not going to become those things by doing that. And I think here's why I think that's good.
Okay.
I think that's good because I think it's a really dangerous path for specialty, right? If we talk about what is the meaning of specialty when we say specialty coffee, there is some conflict, there is some non-overlap, mutual exclusivity between the specialty of specialty coffee and the underlying paradigm, worldview, historical funding and generation of sensory science and food technology. Right. So if
Can you say more on that? Help me
yeah,
understand that more. I'm fascinated by that.
yeah, I mean, this is going to, a broad brush, but if you are a sensory scientist or a food technologist, you probably work for like a General Mills, a Conagra,
Nestle. Right.
Nestle. Yes. And
Corporate.
probably what you're doing is someone is giving you a brief that says, we have X product. It has these ingredients, and we would like to reformulate with a cheaper ingredient that X% of our customers won't notice. Some will notice, and we'll lose those. But if we can save more money on the cheaper ingredient than we lose on these guys jumping ship, way to go. Congratulations,
Okay.
you get your raise. Now, from my perspective, even though specialty coffee is full of businesses, Cafe Imports is a business, every roasters are all businesses.
We're all going to make money.
We all have to make money. I think that there is a fundamental disconnect between the approach of the specialty of specialty coffee versus the approach of gaining every last little bit at the margins, regardless of the people, regardless of what it means to the people. So if I'm out here saying, as a specialty coffee person, we just really want to find the best coffee that we can. It's not that every coffee is a $30,000 whatever. It's that for everything that we're offering, we're trying to be sincere. We're trying to be authentic. We're trying to find the best coffees at that mark with the people who are selling those coffees to us. We're not trying to eke out every last little nickel and dime of every transaction. We're
Right.
trying to make smart decisions. We're trying to make good business transactions. We're not a nonprofit. We are a for-profit business. But, and I think that this is thematic for specialty coffee in general. One of the modes of generating profit as a specialty coffee business is this narrative and ethos of like at least making an effort to do things the right way, on the up and up, even transparently. And I think there is a disconnect there. So to go even further, and maybe we'll just get all 5 episodes out in one
In one
quick and early.
episode.
Think about the presentation. It's like, oh, this is like a new era in cupping or whatever it is. If say 5 years down the line, say 10 years down the line, someone comes in and says, you know what, the CVA is make believe or whatever it is. It's not the real stuff, but we want to use the real stuff. Like we're actually going to make the standards for specialty coffee be descriptive analysis and effective testing. That's going to be the real litmus. Guess what? No one's a cupper anymore because no one's a food technologist. No one's qualified
That's my fucking point.
to do it. So like this whole thing about like, oh, this is for everybody. Everyone can do this. It's like, well, one,
You can't.
only reason everyone can do it is because it's toothless. And two, if this was what you're saying it is, then specifically not everybody could do it. Very specifically, not everyone can do it. And
100%.
as soon as not everyone can do it, it's a mega, you have a mega consolidation thing where it's like, oh, these guys can do it.
But then you can't make the millions of dollars that they're making to get everyone qualified. Okay, next episode, folks, we're going to talk about how we define quality, because now that we've kind of talked about these tools, I want to understand like how we're defining quality and what we're trying to figure out with these tools. So join us for the next episode, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.